How's it going, everybody? This is Coach Jerry here with Biohacking Truth, and today I am joined with a couple dear friends and clients of mine. This is Derrick Paulson, and this is Wolfe, and they are obviously clients of mine. We've been working together for about 6 months, and they are married couple, but they're also interestingly enough mixed martial artists, and which means they go into a cage and fight, and they punch people in the face to relieve stress. Is that about right?
Yes.
Okay, that sounds about right. So yeah, they're normal. They're just like you and me. But I wanted to share their story with you guys because, well, one, they're great people, but two, this their journey and what's developed. It's kind of just unfolded organically, and they came to see me for some help getting through training camp without getting injured, and to help shore up some aches and pains. But through the course of the last 6 months, it started out as that, and our program, our time together, has really veered into a different direction. Although we're still focusing on the physical, it's really veered into a real self-discovery program. And so I've learned quite a bit about you two in the last 6 months, and I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen a lot of perspective shift, and a lot of integration as we've moved along this process, and it's been really fun to watch. But just curious, what you guys, and maybe I'll start with you, Derrick. Just curious, what have you learned about yourself and others in the last 6 months?
Uh, well, I guess the easiest thing that I've learned about myself is I used to walk around with a lot of anger. I just felt like it served me in being closed off to, well, I guess to myself and to other people. Didn't have to get to know them because then they didn't want to get to know me, and I could just move about my life. One of the biggest things that I've learned was that I don't have to be angry. And it took a lot of introspection, a lot of kind of sitting with myself, talking with you, obviously, for many hours at this point. And just realizing that, like, the things that happen in your life don't have to control the way you are for the rest of your life. And like, I've made a huge difference. I've seen a huge difference in, like, my ability to be productive, my ability to come up with ideas and thoughts, and actually take those and move forward with them instead of just sitting with them for a long time and then getting more frustrated because now I'm just angry about something, and then now I'm frustrated that I had this good idea but I'm not doing anything with it. And I feel like that's been my biggest breakthrough, is just being able to get closer to people, I guess.
Allow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
allow people in, and that's okay to allow people in, and that I don't have to just keep everyone away.
Yeah.
To try and feel stronger, or yeah.
Maybe in control of the situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So Derrick and I are very similar personality styles, and one thing I noticed that I saw in you that I also seen myself used to be much more prevalent than it is now, and that is, we use anger as a strategy, and we use anger as a way to make any situation, any and every situation, more tolerable for us. And that's because we are the personality type that likes to control a situation, not necessarily people, but situations. We used anger or unapproachability, right, as a way to manage and nurture and control the situation. And I saw you really embrace this, and it's something that's been really helpful for me as well. But realizing that that our path to stay comfortable, or our strategy to stay comfortable, was pushing us towards disintegration.
Definitely.
Right? And when we talk about integration, disintegration, that's the terms we use. We don't use mental health. We don't use mental illness or anything like that. We use disintegrated or integrated, because everybody walking around this planet is in some state of flux in their mental health at any given time. And just because you might be in a period of your life where you might be disintegrated, that doesn't mean that you have a mental illness or anything like that. I'm not saying people don't have mental illnesses, but you don't have a mental illness just because you've had a bad stretch. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at.
That definitely helped me
a
lot.
And we talked a lot about vulnerability too, right? And I know that's one of those like cringy terms that gets like the man bun, right?
That was a hard
inner
one
child.
That was a hard one to break into.
Right, and all that. But I mean, let's just be honest. Like, the vulnerability is misinterpreted nowadays. We've discussed that, where we talk about exposing our vulnerability all the time as men, and being vulnerable with our thoughts and feelings. Right, and all that's great and everything, but like let's just let's just stop pretending that anybody's ever vulnerable when they're exposing their vulnerability, right? And that's what Derrick and I talked about. You're not truly vulnerable, right? If your life isn't in jeopardy, right? And that might not match the dictionary definition, but that's how we treat vulnerability. Like, if we feel vulnerable about something, we are not going to visit that space. Right, and we are like gonna stay away from that as if our life depended on it.
100%.
Yeah. So a big key for Derrick, myself as well, is just realizing that if you are that type that has to control a situation, if you are that type that has to have it their way or the highway, just realize that when people advise you to be vulnerable, think more along the lines of controlling the situation differently, controlling the situation through softness. Controlling the situation through allowing, controlling the situation through trusting that other people are going to do a good job, right? This being vulnerable, that's cool. That's awesome. And if that's your thing, if that's the word that makes it click for you, stick with it. Here in this office, it's not what we do. It's not what we use. In my opinion, you can get too soft as well. And we want to be very careful not to push into that too soft zone, because we don't want to be pushovers either, right? If your personality and your style is to be a leader, right, to be a challenger, to be the alpha, right, we don't want to encourage beta behavior. So yeah, Derrick, I've just seen a lot of growth out of you, man. It's been really fun to watch. It's been really awesome, and you've been able to soften up without turning into a.
I feel like it's allowed me to be more of a leader. And like
more alpha.
Not that exactly. I was gonna say not to like have more of a voice, because like anybody that knows me knows that that's not an issue. But to know that I don't always have to use a bark.
Right.
I don't always have to. Yeah. I can do it in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's helped with a ton of other things. Like I said, I spent so much time using anger and you think that you just have to be, life sucks and, all this shit's happened to you and all that kind of stuff. And it's just been hard. So the easiest way, the thing that feels the easiest is just to be angry, to be unapproachable, to be
hard.
Yeah. And like you realize that you choose that. That was the biggest thing, I guess.
Yeah.
It was a really roundabout way of seeing it, but is after talking with you a ton, is just realizing that like I'm choosing anger.
Yeah.
I'm choosing to be angry. I'm choosing to be unapproachable, and realizing that I don't have to choose that. Like that was one of my biggest breakthroughs for myself mentally. I feel like was that I don't have to choose. I can choose something else.
Yeah. That emotion drug of anger. It's powerful.
It's huge.
It's powerful. We talk a lot about emotion drug and what's your drug of choice? What's your emotion drug of choice? And we word it that way very intentionally. So Derrick gave the example of anger, but it applies to anxiety, sadness, chaotic feelings. But we get hooked on these emotional dumps that we get when we choose a particular emotion. And if you have an engram in your brain that says every time this happens, I'm going to respond accordingly, it gets to a point where you can't help it. You got to make a conscious choice to choose something differently, and that's exactly what Derrick was talking about. And guys, if you're not familiar with this concept, think about anytime you get a powerful response from something: excitement, sadness, anxiety, depression, anger, shame, guilt, like any of that. When you make that choice to respond with that type of emotion, you are hooked on that drug in some way, shape, or form. So every time that emotion hits you, right, it's dumping a hormone into your bloodstream, right? And just like a drug does, a drug changes your hormone profile. It kicks up certain things, downregulates certain things, and you feel different, right? Emotions do the exact same thing. Now, whether we know it or not, we get hooked on those feelings, just like a drug. Like we know if we drink a bottle of vodka, we're gonna feel like shit tomorrow, but we're gonna feel good for right now. Same with anger. Same with anger, same with sadness, anxiety, depression, all of that. So if you've got a habit, right, a thought style that makes you choose that, and what you'll end up doing is just like any other drug addict, you'll choose anger, and then you go justify it to everyone else why you chose anger. And you will, no matter how miserable you're making everyone else around you, it's their problem, not yours. Okay? So if this sounds familiar, look into that. And probably the biggest reason for that is because once you make that a habit, you'll keep it up. You'll keep it up. Just like an alcoholic, after 2 beers, he wants 3, 4, 5, right? When you choose anger and that anger drug starts wearing off, guess what? You're going to find something else to be angry about. And you're just going to keep feeding it. You're going to keep feeding it. Right, Derrick?
Definitely.
Yeah. But how long did it take you to snap out of that?
Oh, man. Couple months. I had a lot of shit to deal with first before I could kind of get to the point where I could actually walk myself through that. And obviously, like we had talked about it before, but like, I mean, you can hear a quote 100 times, and then like one day it just, it hits you, and you're like,
The
damn,
seed sprouts.
I got it. You're right, exactly. And that's kind of how it was for me. Probably 4 months. Guess I was pretty
months,
angry.
not years.
Right, months, yeah.
Not 40 months.
Right.
Not 14 months.
Right. And like, I mean, we also got after it. Every week. Like, we don't waste our time just small talking and that kind of stuff. We actually get into it, and then both Lauren and I try to. We talk a lot about what we go over here to actually get our to make the most out of our time, and that definitely helps. I mean, if you're putting in the time and you actually want to change and you actually want to do more and get better and understand why you do and feel the way you do, you can do it faster than I did it for sure.
Yeah, it happens quick once you start conceptualizing things and start really applying things.
Yeah, I mean, a pinpointed, actual concerted effort to figure out what it is and why you're doing it, and then also have the same direction of figuring out how to do it better, or how to make it better.
Intention.
Yeah,
direction. Lauren. So when Lauren first came, she was so quiet, much like she is right here. Okay, and I haven't seen this Lauren for months.
I'm being recorded.
That's right. I'm on stage. But Lauren, when you first came in, it was just like we had to drag things out of you, right? We'd be talking, and Derrick would be like, "Tell them about such and such," and then and then she would open up. But now you're coming into the meetings, and you've got things you want to talk about, and you've got notes, and you got your homework ready, and you've got these examples of different interactions you had throughout the week, and now we're applying it to their path to integration and disintegration, and if I haven't explained integration, I have. That's a mental wellness thing, wasn't it? Yeah. And then we're talking about that. So we're getting a lot of side work done just in our conversations, right? So what is it that you've learned about yourself and others in the last 6 months that's made you so excited about everything? Because you found the stride of excitement here.
Yes. I feel like I now understand why, both good and bad. I know, just like you're talking about the anger drug. Mine was probably frustration, but I now know why I went to that and like why I would get stuck. And because of that, I've been able to develop strategies to not become so complacent and just stuck in one place. But I also know why I do the good things I do too. I feel like that's a big thing that like trainers or mental coaches will talk about is understanding your why. Well, I've known I wanted to be strong. I've known I wanted to be capable, but even that, why? Why do I want to be strong? Why do I want to be capable? And coming here and talking every week and just really trying to learn myself, like I now have a much better understanding of why I want to do what I want to do, and it's just helped me stay on a path and focused.
One thing I've really noticed from you that was super noticeable was that when we first started getting into the personality work and the self-discovery, there was a tendency to, on your part, to judge the things about you that you didn't understand, all right, that seemed like maybe things that made you different that you didn't like. But now it seems like there's a completely different dynamic surrounding the parts of you that are different from other people, right? What makes Lauren Lauren? Have you spent much time thinking about that? And if so, what have you come to realize about that part of yourself?
I feel very conflicted in myself fairly often because there's a big part of me that does not want to stand out in any way. I want to be able to blend in and fit in. And then there's another part of me that wants to be something more than that. But how can you be more if you just want to fit in? So I feel like through learning more about who I am and how I work, I can take more pride in, like a healthy pride in the things that make me different, and just knowing that that's okay. And also, not everybody has to like me. That's something we've really focused on a lot. Like, that's definitely something I struggle with, is I'm very self-conscious about what other people think of me, but just being able to get more in touch with what drives me to feel that way. Like, why do I need other people's approval? What does that even mean? How does that serve me? It doesn't most of the time. So being able to that's one of those strategies, being able to realize, like, oh, that's false. That's not real. I can brush that off and move on.
Bullshitting myself.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's Lauren is obviously takes a unique path towards her interests, right? That's not every day you meet a female who likes to, go into a cage and fight. It's not every day you meet a male that likes to go in the cage and fight, but definitely not a female. And so consequently, you can imagine that, Lauren's just not your normal everyday person that you're going to meet. And from what I've observed and from what I've gathered is that is like everything that people are just like love about Lauren, attracted. As I go to watch, her training sessions and whatnot, like, I don't even think she realizes how much people are watching what you're doing. And in talking to Lauren before, so when first you were about, I don't know, 2 months out from a fight? Or did you even know you had a fight when you came in?
I don't think I knew I had.
So you booked a fight later.
Yep.
So,
but it was pretty close to when we started.
Yeah, pretty close. So I mean, Lauren's obviously a physical specimen. She just killed the programs that I gave her. I had a hard time challenging her. And then I went and watched their practices and what they go through in a week, and I couldn't believe that I was having that difficult of a time challenging her with as much as she puts her body through. So she's a physical specimen, but talking to her leading up to the fight, as we were getting through the self-discovery, she's so matter-of-fact and humble and I don't want to say self-judging, but really not certain that you were as talented as you were or that you knew what you knew, okay? And so when you had that fight, a professional fight, she's a paid fighter. When you had that fight, I went down there and I was expecting you to perform, right? But what I saw when the bell rang, holy crap, this gal is super talented, you guys. And not only that, but there was like 10 fights that night, and I don't know, I would say out of 10, there was maybe 5 where you could tell, oh, this is a pro fight and this is an amateur fight. All right, it was kind of 50-50. But within that, there was 2 or 3 that you could say, those are professionals. And you were definitely one. The crowd was talking about it. the crowd was talking about it. My friends that I brought from my hometown were talking about it. And so I guess the moral of that is, you guys, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how unique you are. It doesn't matter how much value you add to other people's lives. If you don't realize that about yourself, and you don't realize that about others. See, if we get caught in our own, if we just think, about every area where we're, inept, or where we don't match the standard, or we think that, right? Then we don't really, we're not giving everyone else what they need either. Because if we are that delusional about our own situation, right, and we're thinking other people got it figured out and I don't, right? Other people are confident and I'm not. Other people are smart and I'm not.
Yes.
Right? Meanwhile, they're looking at you going, how does she do it?
Coming here has definitely helped me. Like, I don't think, maybe this is going to sound egotistical to say, but I've never really struggled with humility. Like,
yeah.
I'm pretty capable of not feeling like I'm the best. But since coming here, I hear myself saying often, like, I know there's people who are better, but I'm really good.
Yeah.
And that was not something I was even capable of saying about myself before I started coming here and talking with you and learning, I don't know, how to have true humility, not just self-deprecating and
virtue signal humility.
Yeah, and a disbelief in yourself. Like, I feel like it's real humility now. Like, yes, there are people that are better than me, but I'm good.
Yeah.
And I am excited to show that to people and share it with people. Yeah.
So in this narcissistic world we live in, you're one of the few people that actually, benefits from the advice of show off a little more. So Lauren's particular personality type benefits greatly from recognizing and coming into terms and getting in touch with what they've done in the past, right? We get anxious when we look to the future, and it's like, what if I don't perform? What if I don't live up to the standard? What if I'm not accepted? What if they don't like me? What if they don't love me?
Yes.
Right? And it's like, dude, you've left a path of destruction in your wake, and look at everything you've done. And being in your 20s, and you're starting to think about mastering yourself and all that type of stuff. But depending on who you are, sometimes that's not easy to articulate or to be in touch with. So there's got to be someone out there that's right there where you were at, or maybe battles those issues of self-doubt, or thinking that there's whoever it is that I'm with, there's an ideal that they're something they're not, right? But it's this self-doubt, it's this doubt in others, not really giving them the full assessment that they deserve, right? So if someone comes in and they're a 6 out of 10 as far as talent, we're gonna put them on it as a 9 just because they're not me. But there's got to be someone else that's in a similar situation and thinking that it's going to take years to, if they can even figure it out at all. What would you say to someone like that that's in that situation? It's like, yeah, I'd like to get to know myself better, maybe feel better about myself, but I'm just not going to take action. What would you say to that person?
It's never too early and it's never too late. I think sometimes people think, oh, well, I haven't done it for so long, there's no one's going to be able to help me now. But on the other hand, like something I struggled with, I was already an athlete and I was already doing a lot of the things I wanted to do, working towards my goals, but I didn't realize how stuck I was. So asking for help, even if you already feel like you're on the right path, like you never know how much further that can push you. And don't be ashamed to ask for help. That's the other thing is, like, since I am fairly self-conscious, like admitting my weaknesses or admitting that I can't just do it on my own, or feeling like I'm burdening other people by asking for their help. It's good for us to share. It's good for us to help each other. So, go for it.
Yeah, I love it. And in the last 6 months, like, you've had like some ups and some downs. Like, you had that fight that you weren't planning on. You had a short camp, if I remember right. It was a pretty short camp. Had to cut 10 pounds. 10 plus?
10 to 12, yeah.
Yeah. So a little over 10 pounds. Went in there, killed it. Great fight. And then there was a couple other fights that were lined up, but then there was an issue with a matchup. So there's been all these ups and downs, right? So you ever like think about, if you hadn't learned this much about yourself, what would have been the effects of those events, and like what do you think would be different today if you hadn't taken the action to learn about yourself?
Well, now I have a plan on how to deal with a lot of those losses and or not losses, I guess I didn't lose, but the loss of a fight. It feels like a loss. It's so disappointing.
You had it in your hands and it didn't happen.
Right.
Yeah.
I just got lost right there.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm saying
so like how would you handle the ups and downs if you in the typical way of going about the thought game?
I think I would have definitely just shut down. Like beforehand, it just would have been like, oh well, that just sucks, and I probably would have wallowed in some self-pity. And while there may have been a brief moment of that this time, I definitely was much quicker to get back on the path and figure out, well, what do I need to do now to make something actually happen?
Yeah, I love it. Guys, I'm used to, and this is typically normal, my clients that are watching this is by no means a knock, but I'm just used to talking and then giving people advice that's, giving them a recommendation to do something that's going to be totally against their grain and outside their comfort zone. Like having a difficult conversation with someone that you respect and you're intimidated by. And I'm just used to them coming back the following week being like, I didn't do it. Nah, that's fine. We'll talk about it some more. And, but Lauren has been, oh, I did that thing. And you're like, oh, shoot. Like, I wasn't ready for you to do it. So,
a lot of that comes from having a husband who's very aggressive, even if I'm not. But I have been, I've learned to be able to do it on my own too. Before I would have relied 100% on Derrick, and now while I still might not be super ready to just jump in and deal with confrontation, it's a lot easier, and I can do it on my own.
Yeah. So ironically, Lauren's got a peacemaker type of air about her, and so naturally she's going to go in the cage and punch people, and of course, what else would she do, right? So that's where that comes from. Lauren just likes everything to be okay. She wants everyone to be okay. And so if you're wondering, where this is coming from, that's it. She's just a peacemaker. She just wants everything to be okay.
Yes.
So thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that. Derrick, just a couple more questions for you, bud. Let you close it out. What would you say to somebody who is battling anger issues and thought that, basically, I'll paraphrase what you and I have talked about, but basically thinks, people just don't have an effing clue, and they don't have an interest in not having an effing clue, and we've got to deal with that and clean up that mess. Like, we choose anger because of it, the red stoplights, the people that take too long to order their coffee, everything, everything that could possibly piss you off, it just happens every day to me. I don't know why. But somebody who's in that similar situation, they're choosing anger, they're choosing frustration, they're choosing judgment on the daily, and they know there's a better way, but they're really just not ready to take action or think they're not ready. What would you say to that person?
Oh, man. I don't know why that one's so hard. I have been, since I was 18, I always knew that I was never going to go to college. So, I've been into self-mastery or self-motivation, that kind of stuff, like reading books, listening to podcasts, getting into as much what I felt like it was introspection and stuff as I could. So it was a pretty easy segue. I had torn my knee. I found you. You used to go to the same gym that I did, so I kind of knew you a little bit. So it was easy for me, and then it kind of segued into everything else that we got into. Like you said from the beginning, it was more physical. So it was a pretty, I don't want to say easy segue, but I would say just understand that there is a better way, and just look to seek it out. It's hard. You get so used to being caught in that repetitive cycle of just, you're pissed off by everything, and you just need to do what you need to do and get through the day and get done and get home so nobody can piss you off anymore. Mm-hmm. Then you get home and you're still pissed off. So you didn't actually accomplish what you went out to do for the day. So that probably pissed you off too.
Yeah.
So look for a better way. One of the biggest things that I've done, the better way is talking about it. Whether you book with Jerry and actually get with him and start breaking it down, or with your parents, if you have that kind of relationship, a wife, a family member, a good friend, and just like not being afraid to level with people and just let them know, like, I am fucking angry and I can't get over it. Like, I don't know what it is. And like a lot of the time you don't know what it is because you've chosen it for whether it be months or years or decades, which for me was that it was years. I mean, until 2 months ago, like I didn't remember a time where I wasn't angry. Even when I'm happy, I'm still angry because it's happy for a minute and then one little thing happens and like it's done. So it feels like the hardest thing to do, and then like it definitely is, but being able to open yourself up to that person, and that's the biggest thing that I've realized is like being vulnerable, like we talked about before, just opening up to somebody else that you trust is, I feel like that's the biggest thing. Finding somebody that you trust is, when you have a personality like mine, it's not super easy. I'm not I don't seek out to trust other people necessarily. I didn't, and now like that's definitely changed. Even though you feel like you can carry everything yourself, I've always been pretty big. I've always been strong, so like I also feel like I have to be mentally strong too. So I feel like I take on everybody else's problems and I just take it in stride, and it doesn't affect me because I'm, you're just strong. You're strong. You don't let any of that shit bother you. And then like you get to a point where like you can't carry shit anymore. Something happens in your life and you really have to start dealing with some shit. And I definitely had some of that go on. So that kind of sped up the process for me because like I've had a lot of different things go on. I lost a good friend of mine. Some of my family members' health hasn't been that great. So you just you get vulnerable. Shit sucks. You realize that you gotta get you gotta do something different. So that was kind of one of the things that sped up the process for me. Was like I wanted to be better, and I was already in this process of like trying to be better and trying to learn myself, and actually learning myself, and then like got hit with a few things, and like but then I had an avenue to actually deal with that stuff, because like normally I wouldn't handle something like that the way I did, whereas I came to you and we did some extra sessions, and we just talked. I mean, shit, we talked a lot.
Just chopped it up.
And that's somebody, that's like the longest way I could probably put it, I guess, but
it's from the heart, man.
Developing a good relationship with people that you can actually count on, that you can actually trust, and and then just being willing to want to lighten that burden and feel like you don't have to carry that. You've heard it 100 times if you watched any videos or you start watching podcasts. I've always been into successful people, and they always, talk about different things like that, about opening up and talking to people. And you're like, yeah, it seems so easy, but it's so hard. And it's both of those things. It's both easy and it is hard. It's hard because mentally you're so used to that cycle of fucking carrying all that weight, and you don't open up to anybody. You're not vulnerable to anybody. But it's also easy in the fact that like it's just talking. It's getting out. It's talking about the day. It's breaking down the day. Like, I was angry about this. This guy cut me off in traffic, and I did this and I did that. And I'm like, well, why did you choose to do that? Why didn't you choose to do that? They did this, and it's their fault. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, you can make your own decisions, you know.
You choose to feel powerless.
You choose to do that, and then you have to get your power back by speeding around them in traffic and flipping them off, and you know, which that was me. So, you know, I understand that well. But you know, just start something as easy as just breaking down the day. What happened during the day? Why did you feel the way that you felt? And then just start working your way backwards. It doesn't even have to start getting, you know, super deep. Just start with the day, and then, like I say, just work your way backwards. Let it work back a week, another day, you know, a year, 10 years. Depends on how long you've been feeling that.
Let it work its magic.
Yeah, and then just, let it ride. Stick to it.
It's powerful, man. No, it's powerful. No, seriously, that's come directly from the heart. And guys, like, little inside baseball, like, you know, Derrick's got, like I said, same personality as me, and both of us were, our biggest fear in life is feeling like we're losing power, control, strength. And for you, it might be feeling worthless, or it might be feeling unloved or inadequate. But everybody's got their own, right? And it's what we call the false core. And so basically what Derrick just did here was he just shared his heart with you for several minutes, and that is directly on his path towards integration. Okay, so he's not getting anything out of this. He's sharing this with you, right? He's doing this as a solid for me and for you, and really he gains nothing for this. He thinks, right? Or he would have thought before. Now he realizes, but that is him displaying unconditional offerings for you, unconditional gifts, unconditional love, right? And that's directly on his path to integration. So 6 months ago, like, how likely would you have been to do what you just did?
None. No chance.
Yeah, like less than zero.
As soon as, seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we just did our session and everything, and like, we had kind of forgot about it, and I would have just walked out the door. I'd have been gone before, you know, you guys even remembered that we were supposed to do that this week.
Yeah.
You know, or when you texted me about it, like, I would have been like, I'm not.
Yeah, no,
not
sorry.
trying to do that.
What do I get out of this?
I mean, I don't even post anything because, like, I mean, there's just kind of weird about it, but at the same time, like, I don't want to be seen. You know, I don't want to be vulnerable to how people would feel about whatever I post or whatever, and like, and now I don't really care. I mean, it would have been less than zero. I just wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I mean, knowing my personality, like, it's not really a question. There's
I would have
make me do it.
I would have left that shit on Red Dog.
Yep.
100%. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing, Lauren. I appreciate you sharing. What these two just did is they just took some time out of their day to share their story with you, and it is our hope that if you are currently in a situation, you know, where you're not feeling fulfilled in life, where there's this maybe a feeling of emptiness or this unexplained void that creeps up in your life, in your being, in your body, there is an answer to it. We can source it, okay, whether you believe it or not. All right, it's there's a system, right? We have a system, and there's just some things you need to uncover about yourself. There's some questions that you maybe have never asked of yourself, and I can promise you, win, lose, or draw, you learning this about yourself is going to greatly enhance your life. It's going to completely change the color of the world for you. All right, you will understand yourself. You will understand others better than you ever have. And how can you get on a path towards integration if you don't know yourself? You really can't. You're just throwing stuff at the wall. All right, that's when mental illness comes into play. That's when people get neurotic. That's when people get off the edge. So in our world, we deal with the Enneagram. And if you don't know anything about the Enneagram, I'm not going to bore you with an explanation. If you do know about the Enneagram, this will make sense. But like, if you get to a level of disintegration, right? And if you get to like a level 5 and they go to 9, so 0 is really healthy, 9 super unhealthy. You get yourself to 5 or 6 level of disintegration and you don't understand what's causing it, right? That's where the conflation happens. That's when we keep going back to old strategies, We keep going back to old thought styles, old ways of conducting business with the world, and expecting the world to do something different, which it won't. That's when the mental illness kicks on, in my opinion, in my observation. Okay, any of us can get disintegrated at any given time, depending on the stimulus and how well tuned in we are to our core drivers and to our path towards integration. But if we don't know that that's a thing, if we don't know the systems that need to be put in place for us to understand ourselves and others, and to recognize when we're out of alignment and we're falling into disintegration, right, then it's actually highly probable. In fact, it's almost impossible for it not to lead into severe states of distress. So that's how we're just human, guys. And if people are mentally ill, most often they're mentally ill not because they've got something wrong with them. It's just life has hit them hard, and they've grown disintegrated, and they don't have the tools to snap out of integration. It's no different than if you had no legs and you slip down a hill. Like, you can't get up the hill. If someone gave you legs, you could get up the hill. All right, so that's what we look to do with our people. And another thing, we just keep it fun. We keep it fun. We keep it lighthearted. We laugh at ourselves a lot. We laugh at each other. We laugh at other people. It seems like all we do is laugh. And you compare that with what most people get, or what most people's therapy. I'm not saying I do therapy, but people do therapy, and people that go through therapy, right? I don't diagnose. I don't prescribe. But a lot of people that go through therapy, and nothing against therapy. If you're a therapist, thank you. Thank you for helping people. This isn't about you, okay? But people that don't need therapy, that go to therapy, a lot of times it's not fun, and it's not lighthearted. But that's what we do. Why? Because being on this planet's fun, and life is fun, and we should be able to laugh at damn near anything that happens to us. And if we can't, there's where your fucking problem lies, right? You guys got anything else to add?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, check them out on Instagram and Facebook. Derrick Paulson. We've got. Do you go by the Linguist, or you go by?
It's Lauren Wolfe.
Okay, Lauren Wolfe. All right. On Instagram and Facebook, give them a follow. Give them some support. Fighters are about the bravest, ballsiest people I could freaking ever imagine. And a lot of times they're doing it just for the love of the sport and the support they get from each other. And then, a few times a year they get to pop in front of a crowd that just wants to see blood. Okay, so give them some support. Let them know that you're paying attention. And if you need anything from me, you don't have to have like this major need to discover yourself, but if you do, I'm here for you. If you just want to lose some weight, or you just got some back pain or something like that, we can do that too. We don't need to introduce yourself to yourself if you don't want to. But I've never had someone who wasn't interested in it, even though they thought they weren't interested in it. So we'll just throw that out there. You never know what you're missing, right? And if you don't know, and if you don't know what you're missing and that really bothers you, you might be a 7. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. You can find me on Instagram. You can see him flexing on Instagram. Some pretty good photos. But Instagram, Coach_Jerry44 on Instagram, and on Facebook, I believe I am just Jerry Kuykendall. That's just who I am. All right. Thank you for watching to the end. And if you need anything, reach out. Jerry@biohackingtruth.com. My personal cell number is 406-241-3763. If you want a better experience on this rock, this is your one chance to do it as you. So if you want to make the most of it, I'm here for you. That's all I do. That's all I care about. All right. Peace, much love. Live well.